Well, I'm speaking to a lady today who's been in contact with us after having a major bit of operation. It's a transplant, and that's your liver. Can you take us through your story first of all? What happened?
Do you want it from the very beginning, Paul? Because it all started 23 years ago when I was diagnosed with autoimmune hepatitis. But luckily enough, at that time, it hadn't gone to the next stage, and I was being treated with steroids, and then later on an autoimmune suppressant drug. And that kept things right for, 23 years now.
But the damage to your liver was being caused?
But the damage was being caused, it was slowly being caused because of the disease itself. It was progressive. So ultimately I knew at the end of the day, when it had done what it set out to do, the autoimmune system that is, that it would finally come to a head, and I probably would need a transplant or change of medication, whatever, but most likely a transplant.
So take us back to the very beginning.
I was in Nobles. I had been transferred from Birmingham Hospital back over to Nobles, and I had been in there for 4 weeks, but my condition wasn't improving, and I was quite ill, to be honest with you, although I wasn't aware of it, my family were.
And you suddenly get the call to say that...
And suddenly on a Saturday morning, I think it was, the 5th of April, a nurse ran into my room and she said to me, "You're going away, Anne." And I can't tell you what way I felt. I was amazed, thankful, scared. There was lots of things going through my head, but I couldn't even express them to the staff, how I felt. They kept reassuring me that things were going to be fine, but all I could think of was getting there first of all, and just having to get on an ordinary flight. We weren't aware at the time that it was going to be an air ambulance, so I assumed it must be going to be a normal flight, and got dressed and all my outer clothes.
And yet, fogged in, weren't you?
When we got to the airport, the flight couldn't take off because the fog was so dense.
Oh my goodness, and there's such a small window, isn't there?
Yeah, 6 hours we were told. Yeah, it still is 6 hours of a window. So we were panicking a little bit, and all I could think of was, I have 6 hours, and after the 6 hours, I'll be on an operating table, and it was all very scary. But I didn't cry or anything. I sort of, because I had been so ill, and I didn't contemplate death or how bad it was, and apparently it was that bad. But we got there, Paul, and finished up. We arrived.
I believe everyone was really helpful here, weren't they?
Oh, they were amazing. The airport people, can't say enough good things about them. They were just absolutely wonderful, to the very extent that a policeman down there
at the airport
had seen us quite a few times, and he tried to reassure us about the flights and all. This was after they decided to put us on a scheduled flight, and he asked, would I need a bed, which we said I just needed to lie down at that time. I was very, very ill. And he took us to the first aid room, and there was a bed in there, and he came later on to tell us that the flight was going out, and stayed with us. Him and another police lady, a policewoman.
They were second to none. They want that extra mile, Paul. The police want that extra mile at the airport. They couldn't have done enough for Anne.
No.
They seen she was in distress. She was going. She didn't know really where she was going. She was going to Birmingham Liver Transplant Unit, but she didn't know what the outcome of it was going to be. And everybody supported her. People, passengers that were around us in the terminal, the police, the Flybe crew, everybody pulled together.
So I know Birmingham is a centre of excellence, and they really, really looked after you well.
Birmingham Hospital is just amazing. The staff, the doctors, the consultants, the surgeon, everybody. I owe them all my life, but they were so nice. Their bedside manner is just incredible. Really, the doctors and all. I mean, they would come in and hold your hand and think nothing of it, and sort of they would lean over me and reassure me, and make me feel good about things that were going to happen. But then again, I knew I was frightened, and I was very frightened.
Anne's operation, she was very high risk for surgery. And the surgeon told us this before the operation. We eventually got to Birmingham, and he said Anne was high risk for surgery, and I just said to him, well, without the surgery, she won't be here. She won't be here. But we didn't realise at the time, even though we were held up there, our ambulance couldn't take off and had to transfer us to the scheduled flight. But what we didn't know at the time was the organ hadn't arrived in the hospital. Would give us time, give the transplant team time. And when we eventually got to Birmingham Queen Elizabeth Hospital at 12:15, and the organ didn't arrive in the hospital at 5:15. So it gave everybody time. The surgeon said to me before the operation, he said that he was going to take the operation very, very slow. And he says, if you don't hear from me early in the evening, he says, don't worry, the things that went wrong. He says, I'm taking my time. And the first I heard from them, she went into the theatre at 7 o'clock. The first I heard from them was at 12:15 when one of the coordinators rang me to say that Mr. Pierre, the surgeon, had asked her to ring me and let me know that he was over the worst part, that he was dreading, and that he was on the home straight. We'd be another hour and a half, and the surgery didn't finish till 1:30 on the Sunday morning, 6th of April.
It's still quite a tricky piece of surgery then, is it?
Very much so, Paul.
It's very, it's massive surgery.
Yeah, it's
massive
very
surgery.
intricate what they have to do, because they have to attach vessels and arteries and,
And
it is...
there's one of the arteries that they have to attach, I can't remember the exact name for it, hepatic artery. And when they release, when they start the blood flow again, there could be a surge to the heart, and it could cause problems. And it is very, very, very sensitive surgery. But with the help of God, Anne get over it, Anne get through it, and with the help of the team in Birmingham, the consultants and the surgeons, as you said yourself, Paul, earlier on, Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Birmingham is a centre of excellence, and the hospital matches the name.
Now, I know you're doing a fundraising because you want to put something back, and you're going to be holding an event. So can you tell us about that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we feel that we'd have to put something back into what we get out of Birmingham. We would have to try and put something back in again. We have spoke to the Queen Elizabeth charity for the liver transplant unit, and they're trying to purchase another machine now, which is going to cost in the region of £100,000, where they'll be able to cleanse out livers and help more people to survive and help them to get to the end of the road. People don't realise that there's hundreds, thousands of people out there. I think it's 7,000 people in the UK that's waiting to transplant at the moment. And we are organising an event in November in the Empress Hotel, the 15th of November. It's a charity ball, a grand charity ball. And I'm targeting at the minute in the region of £10,000. And hopefully we'll be able to beat that, to be able to put back into the liver transplant unit and help them towards purchasing this solar machine so that they'll be able to help more people.
I believe you've got some guests coming over from the hospital, haven't you?
Yeah, my surgeon.
Your
my
surgeon
hero,
coming
yeah.
over. That's impressive.
He's coming over, and one of the coordinators, Joka, there's lots of coordinators, to help liver patients. And especially transplant, when it comes to transplant time, they do everything, they do all the paperwork, and they're absolutely wonderful people.
If people want more information about this, to get tickets, how do they do that?
Tickets can be had at the Empress Hotel, or from myself, or Andrea or Stephen, son and daughter. They will have from Andrea or Stephen, and from the Empress Hotel, reception at the Empress Hotel. But the most important thing that we are endeavouring to do, Paul, is to highlight organ donors.
I mean, it's been a subject that's been talked about a lot recently, the transplants, and I know that it's something that you're very keen on, because people don't necessarily think about this, but you want them to opt in or to make a will to that effect, that they would leave parts of their body to other people who could use them.
They should opt into the scheme, Paul. At the end of the day, death has got no age limit. People die young, people die old, and these people die every day of the week, and they take good organs with them, where other people could live on if these organs were available. And there is a big shortage of organs. And these surgeons are fantastic people, the consultants are fantastic people, but without, if you could say, spare parts, they can't carry out the job. And they take it really, they're very, very sincere people, and they take it to heart when they lose a patient, because the patient hasn't got to the end of the road. And the reason, nothing to do with the doctors or the nurses or the nursing staff, it's because the organ hasn't been there for them. And our family have been very, very lucky. Almonds are our blood group. And when she came back to Nobles Hospital from Birmingham, she spent the first 10 weeks of this year in the Queen Elizabeth Hospital from New Year's Eve we left the Queen Elizabeth on the 10th of March to come back to Nobles. And she was spent 4 weeks in Nobles, and then we got the call at 4:30 in the morning. I didn't think that call would ever come.
Long old stint.
I didn't think that call would ever come. The phone rang, and it was like a bolt out of the blue. But I definitely, Anne used to say to me when she was in Nobles, the phone's never going to ring. I said there, it will ring. And with certain friends, Brian Keenan from the Empress, Brian used to say to me, Tony, the phone will ring. And I never thought it would. I thought, this is it. And Anne's window was closing, because you've only got a short window. And Anne's window of opportunity, as they would call it, our window was closing. And we were very lucky. Anne got the organ. And unfortunately, that somebody else had to lose their lives for Anne to live on. Yeah. And this is what happens. Donor. Wonderful donors, right? And it's brought the family's life back together again. Not only Anne's, it brought the whole family's life back together again. And you know, I would tell people what happened. It was a miracle, but without people giving organs, the likes of Anne and other people out there that need them.
It's so important, Paul.
It's so important.
It's so very important. And as well as a lack of donors, there's a lack of funds too. The Liver Foundation's not well funded at all. So that's why Tony and family are doing this, you know, because like Tony said, you have to give something back. They were so wonderful to us. They give us my life, and there's no doubt at all about that. They give us my life back again.
They give us our lives back again. They give us our lives back again. And without the donor that give the organ, well, Anne wouldn't be here now. Anne wouldn't be sitting here talking to me, talking to yourself, Paul. She just wouldn't be here. She was deteriorating all the time. And as I say, we were lucky the organ come along when it did. Anne was more than lucky to be given the organ. Yeah. Because there's people queuing up. There's people queuing up for organs. But with Anne being the rare blood group, one of the consultants actually said this last New Year's Eve when she went into the Queen Elizabeth that the type of organ that Anne was looking for was as scarce as hen's teeth.
Yeah. Yeah.
He says it was, and when the organ did come along, the surgeon did say to us that day on the 5th of April that the organ was a first class organ, just like Anne needed.
Well, thanks for talking to us today, but I know once again, tell us about when the event's on at the Empress Hotel.
Empress Hotel, Saturday the 15th of November. We hope to pack the hotel out, and we hope to generate as much funds from the people of the Isle of Man and Ireland who will be there on the night. And we hope to raise in the region of £10,000 plus.
Hopefully.
And it's a two-way street. We'll have to put something back into what we got out, and we got an awful lot out. £10,000 wouldn't even cover it.